All right, y'all. What's up, man? I want to. Today is what, the 25th? What's today? I think it's March 25th, 2025. So I want to go back to the Cuffy case, and I want to talk about the Franks hearing that took place in St. Louis, Missouri, in the Eastern District of Missouri, Volume 6, dated October 9th, 2017. And it's Keith Cromer on the stand being cross-examined by Humphrey. Now, this is real important. This is some more, what's the word I'm looking for, y'all? Just mistakes that were made in this case, which is reason why Cuff needs another look at this case. In the middle of Keith Cromer being on the stand, and we're going to go over it, the judge, while he's being cross-examined by Humphrey, stops Humphrey. Humphrey is the attorney, I think, for Timothy Rush. The judge stops Humphrey and says, "Excuse me, counsel." Before Humphrey starts cross-examining Keith Cromer, he has exhibits, defense exhibits. Then the United States government has their exhibits. So what happens is, while the cross-examination is going on, before proceedings start, they give the judge a list of the exhibits and the actual exhibits, and then they give the defense attorney will have their exhibits and the list of the exhibits, and then the United States government, the U.S. attorneys, will have their exhibits and their list of exhibits, and they should have given the witness, Keith Cromer, copies of the exhibits and the list of exhibits that they're going to be referencing when they talk about certain aspects of the case. So they do that. But at this point, it's fucked up, right? In the middle of Cromer's testimony, the judge stops Humphrey and says, "What exhibit are you coming from? Because I don't have it." And the defense attorney says, "Well, I'm coming from this one, Judge." Then Cuffy's attorney, Joanne Traub, jumps up and says, "Well, Your Honor, you don't have it. Here, you can have mine." And then the U.S. attorneys, or the assistant U.S. attorneys, Riley and Hogue, they jump up and say, "Well, it's this." So they're going back and forth because they're looking at different documents, and Cromer is testifying about this case from a different, from the same document. One is redacted, one is unredacted, and the redaction codes are messed up. So the U.S. attorneys, I don't know if they're U.S. attorneys or assistant U.S. attorneys, Hogue and Riley, say, "Judge, can we come up and do a sidebar?" So they all go up, they do a sidebar, and then they come back. And what they find out is that in this exhibit that Keith Cromer has been testifying on, and the exhibit that everyone else is looking at, it's making reference to Cuffy's brother, Duron Gatlin, when it should be Dion Gatlin, right? Or it should be Dion Gatlin, and it's making reference to Duron Gatlin. And being that this case is, there's protective orders surrounding this case as a result of Tammy Cowens, right, being an undercover informant, they redact the names of the people in these documents. They redact the names, meaning they black out the names, and then they give that redaction a number. Like my name, Sean G. They would redact my name and say Sean G is 8. So anytime you see the number 8 and it's blacked out, you know that it's me, right? So they give everybody these codes. So these codes are wrong. And Chroma is on the stand. They gave, and Keith Chroma's attorney jumps up in the middle of this, and Keith Chroma's attorney is a former U.S. attorney from the Northern District of Georgia. And him and Keith Chroma have worked together for about 15 years, so they know each other that long. So, you know, Keith Chroma is a super experienced DEA agent, right? Don't get into, let's get away from, you know, him having an alleged sexual affair with Tammy Cowens. Strip that out, right? Save that. This dude is a mean DEA informant and an expert in wiretaps. He's risen up the ranks. He's become a group supervisor at the DEA. He has 14 people working underneath him, right? So he's sharp. He's no dummy. And his attorney, his counsel, is a former U.S. attorney in the Northern District of Georgia who's since gone into private practice. And so both of these dudes is sharp. They know what they're doing. They know this whole court system. They know the feds. They know all of that. So Chroma's attorney jumps up and says, yo, y'all gave us all redacted copies before we came. And we were anticipating rocking from the redacted joints. Now, when he's in court and on the stand, they give him an unredacted joint, right? So Cuffy's brother is mixed up in it, and they have the code for Cuffy's brother for Cuffy and Cuffy's code for the something like that. And what's interesting is that one of the U.S. attorneys or the assistant U.S. attorneys says, it comes up, so the judge asks, is there a mistake in the report? Did the agent who did the report make a mistake? The assistant U.S. attorney says, no, there's a mistake in the redaction codes, but it's material as it relates to Chroma's testimony. Now, when you hear the word material, that means important. If something is material, it's important, right? For you to drive to the store, right, you need a what? A car. So a car is a material item necessary for you to get in, drive from your house to the store. So the U.S. attorney comes out and says, yo, this is material. And then they take a break and, they come back and they get it straight. But I just think, my personal feeling, man, is, that Chroma got set up, man. Word is born, man. That's my personal feeling, man. Save the sexual affair, and Chroma even denied that to me, man. And like I told you, I spoke to Cuff on the phone, Cuff's and Sean. We saw pictures of him in bed with Chroma, with Cowens, and we went over there. Y'all know where I'm at. But it just seems like he was, people within the DA were conspiring against him, man, with this case, including Tammy Cowens. The judge, Mr. Humphrey, before you move on, please help me, orient me to where you are in the exhibits. I've been looking for this document in the binder that was previously given to me, and I cannot find it. Humphrey: I'm sorry, Your Honor. This is the document that was provided this morning. So the document doesn't become available to that morning. The judge: all right, so let's give it a number for identification purposes. Mr. Humphrey: I called it defendant's W. The assistant U.S. attorney: W? The judge: okay, I seem to have a W that is a different document, which is why I'm hesitating. Humphrey: I thought we left off at V. The judge: I don't know. I have a list of exhibits for defendants. Hold on, I have a list. I have a defendant's joint exhibit list that goes from A through L. During the course of the hearing, an R was introduced. Defendant's exhibit B1. But then it's got a bunch of tabs in it that go from A through double E. So I've got an exhibit W in here that is a form 103 and a DEA 6, but it doesn't match up with this document. Should I be calling it something different? Humphrey, the defense lawyer: that is something different, yes. The judge: all right, we'll go with W. Humphrey: okay. The judge: so I don't have a copy of what you just showed on the screen, is that right? Humphrey: all right, Judge, we'll get you one. The judge: I just want to make sure so I can find it later. Cuffy'S lawyer, Joanne Traub: Your Honor, here. If it would help, there's no sense. Here you go. She gives the judge hers. The judge: just for identification purposes on the record, defendant's exhibit W is a form. Is the form that Agent Cromer was testifying about. It is dated, well, the first page is dated November 2nd, 2016, and the balance of it is a form 103 dated October 18, 2011 with a backup DEA 6 form. I got so much paper that I'm afraid I'll lose it. Mr. Humphrey: Your Honor, the next document that I'm going to reference, you should have a copy of it. The U.S. attorney jumps up: can we approach for a second, Your Honor? The judge: okay. U.S. attorney: we need to satisfy something. Here's written in quotes: the following proceedings were held at the bench and outside the hearing of open court. So they all went up to the judge's desk and they spoke, yo. They spoke in quiet, right? The judge comes back after they break up: I'm sorry, I was totally lost because I thought these were the defendant's exhibits and I didn't realize until just now. So this is B1 and these are basically subparts of B1. Humphrey: correct. The assistant U.S. attorney: the redaction code, it refers in this thing to number 12, okay? On the outside, redaction code numbers. Wait a minute, let me read that better. The redaction code, it refers in this thing to number 12, okay? On the outside, redaction code numbers, okay? And it has as 12, formerly P9, okay? Or also referred to as P9 in other redaction codes. Cuff, Dion Gatlin, aka Black, okay? And the problem with that is in this first report, all right, they are referring in the unredacted form, okay, in paragraph 8. Moody stated that Rico, aka Ricardo Webb, had punched another member known as Black, aka Deron Gatlin, which is his brother. It's not Dion Gatlin. It's not Cuff. And then when they refer to 12 in this report, okay, this Moody report has Dion Gatlin. That's not true. It's Deron Gatlin, the judge. So it was a mistake that was made by the agent who prepared the report, it sounds like. Assistant U.S. Attorney: no, it's a mistake in our redaction code. No, it's a mistake in our redaction code. The other U.S. attorney, it's a mistake in the redaction code. The other U.S. attorney, Riley, in that particular spot. The other U.S. attorney, Hogue, there is no reference to Dion Gatlin in this report, okay? The judge, okay, is that something that he was just talking about when he said the first report? Assistant U.S. Attorney Hogue, well, that's what he's saying. Hogue, that he got paid because Dion Gatlin is referenced in this 6, okay? Well, he wasn't referenced in this 6. Deron Gatlin was referenced in that 6. So they must have been paying one of them dudes. Because it says here that he got paid because Dion Gatlin was referenced in the 6. So one of them dudes, Ricardo Webb or Moody, might have been being paid to be an informant. Mr. Riley, which is a U.S. attorney, may I confer with Mr. Hogue for just a second? Hogue is the other U.S. attorney. The judge, sure. Mr. Riley, the U.S. attorney, you can refer by Bates number. Obviously, and shout out to Cuff, I mean no disrespect. Tamara, I mean no disrespect. Nobody related to Deron or Cuff or Cuff's family do I mean any disrespect. You can refer by Bates number. Obviously, Deron Gatlin is dead now because we're talking about it right here. He's dead, okay? And I don't know if whoever coded this for some reason thought it was Dion Gatlin, but that's Deron. Now, there's other reference to Magic in here. And Magic, there is a chance Deron Gatlin may also be referred to as Magic from time to time. But I can't say that for sure. But I'll give you the unredacted copy and give you an extra unredacted copy to show him. If I can have that back when you're finished with it. Humphrey says, sure. The judge, can you just, for me, identify what exhibit number we've been talking about at sidebar? Mr. Riley, the U.S. attorney, which exhibit? Humphrey, I think this is marked B2. Riley, the U.S. attorney. Judge, the Bates range on it is Office of Professional Responsibility 221 to 225, and it's paragraph 8 specifically. In the second line of paragraph 8, the actual language is black, quote unquote black, aka Deron Gatlin, and the redaction code codes it as P9, who is referenced to Dion Gatlin or Cuff. So it's a mistake in the report. The judge. And when it was presented to Mr. Cromer previously, it was marked as Defendant's Exhibit B2. Humphrey, yes. Mr. Riley, the U.S. attorney. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it's a mistake in the report, it's a mistake in the redaction codes. And it appears to be material based on the testimony at this point. Do you have anything else to add? The other U.S. attorney jumps up. Hogue. The actual report is what Mr. Cromer would have been looking at, not anything with the redacted code, okay? He would have been looking at this report if he's referencing it. Cromer's attorney jumps up. Thomas, if I can interject, I'm just going to ask if we can have a chance to go over it with Agent Cromer. What we were provided with is redacted copies with the redaction code that references Cuff, Dion Gatlin. Mr. Riley, that's correct. Mr. Thomas, right. So he's going to be completely surprised and ambushed now, meaning Cromer. Cromer's going to be completely surprised and ambushed now. So all of the exhibits they gave to Cromer and his attorney beforehand had the redaction codes that referenced Cuff instead of Ron Gatlin. So they could have been trying to trip him up in terms of making payments. Thomas, Cromer's attorney. So he's going to be completely surprised and ambushed now. I mean, not intentionally, but the judge breaks in. You're asking for a break so that he can see the unredacted? Cromer's lawyer, Thomas, absolutely. So he can see the unredacted and be prepared for what's next. We were given the documents in advance, but with the understanding that he's not the author of this report. The judge, I understand. Do you have any, Humphrey, it's your cross-examination. Do you have any objection in proceeding in that way? That makes sense? Humphrey says no. The judge says, then why don't we do that? We'll take a recess. It's a win-win-win. And we'll allow Agent Cromer to review the redacted report in light of the mistake. Do you think you need more than 10 or 15 minutes? Cromer's lawyer, Thomas, I would think 15 minutes would be good. So the judge says, they go and they take care of that. So I think that's real important in this case. And I read it yesterday, but it kind of sat on my spirit, and I wanted to deal with it because I think that's important. And, you know, if you've been following me in this case, you will see how, in light of everything we've gone over, how this is important, man. So just wanted to put that out there.